My name is Melanie Williams-Mahan. I work for Partners in Equestrian Therapy. We're a therapeutic riding program for kids and adults with disabilities. Therapeutic riding is a way of using horses to people with disabilities to further their therapy. Meaning it's a lot easier for some of our riders to get on a horse and do certain things because they have this connection with the horse, and it's, you're thinking about a lot of things when you're on a horse. Number one is clearly staying on the horse, and number two is trying to get that horse to do what you want it to do. So it helps them with communication, it helps with balance. It's a really good exercise for your trunk because even though you don't think you're doing a lot of work, your body is constantly adjusting to the movement of the horse. And one of the things that the movement of a horse does is it imitates our walking. So when a person that does not have the ability to walk is on a horse, they're getting messages that's sitting on the horse to the brain that's telling the brain that everything's okay and that this body is walking. It's just so amazing is with kids with autism, we ask them to communicate with that horse. And it's amazing when you see a child that doesn't communicate in everyday life, but he'll tell that horse to walk on because he knows that's the only way to get the horse moving. It's a big accomplishment for them because some of these kids struggle socially. So when they come in and work with the horses, we make it as easy as we can for them, and the horses really get it. A therapy horse is a really, really special animal, and I think it's amazing. I've been around horses my whole life, but I'm happy to do their job. They love doing their job. And I think one of the things that it really, really helps with is children with autism that don't want to speak. And also children that are in a wheelchair that don't have the ability to walk on their own. That horse represents a lot of freedom. And they can also go back to school and tell their friends that they're horseback riders. And that's a big, big accomplishment for somebody that's been told most of their life they can't do things like everybody else. And we teach a combination of riding, just basic riding skills, and we let people move up as they want to. We have several riders that are cantering, and that's a really, it's not an easy thing to learn. It's very natural for the horse, but it's not natural for us. But once they get to a certain point and they can control their horse, which is fantastic too, that you're controlling a 1,000-pound animal. We want to make sure that these kids, when they come there, it's a positive experience. And having a well-trained therapy horse just makes it so much easier. And there's a lot of training that goes into a therapy horses. Horses, I think, naturally are a great therapist, meaning when you go out and work with a horse, that horse is kind of a mirror for what you are feeling and what you want in your life. And it's really easy to talk to a horse because they're very non-judgmental and they want to please us. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so accessible, especially for the little kids that come in, and even adults that have grown up around horses and have never been able to ride them. It works out very well for them because this is something that most people don't get to do. If you want to ride with us, we ask for a doctor's sign-off that you're physically able to, to do the horseback riding. There's not a lot of things that prevent it, and we have adaptive equipment to be able to get somebody that's in a wheelchair onto the horse. We have a really huge ramp, and we have a mounting block, but it's a very controlled environment, and that's why we use volunteers to be lead walkers, which is responsible for leading that horse around. You can tell a lot from just looking at the horse's head. And so the lead walker is responsible for that horse's head, and if the ears go back or if the eyes get big or if they snort or whatever, then the lead walker can let us know that something is bothering that horse. And we also have side walkers that it's also a volunteer position, and they help the rider before they have balance. We do exercises when we first get into the arena, and the side walker can put a hand on somebody if because they won't have their feet in the stirrups, and they'll be stretching and doing all kinds of stuff. So we want to make them comfortable while we're doing that, and that helps the horse too get warmed up for the lesson. And then we start the lesson, and it involves anything from doing a pattern around the arena to learning to canter is a big one too for some of our riders. We had one little girl that couldn't In the classroom, she was really struggling to read. And one of the things that we did for her was we got a little chalkboard and a little dry erase board, and she learned her letters on horseback. And it was a lot easier for her to focus on that one thing and still be on the horse and still have a great time. And she knows her numbers very well now, she knows her letters, and her mother was amazed. She said, "I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's great." And it turns out that she just responds really well to the horse therapy.
Hi, my name is Mark Chen-Yen, and this is Nolan Chen-Yen. He is autistic. He's 4.5 years old. He has been doing this riding program for almost 2 years. It's helped him develop his posture and his speech a little bit. He loves to come out and do the riding, and he loves to ride Etana, old Etana. And as you can see, he sits very straight in that horse. Yeah. And that's helped him in everyday life because that he also sits straight now, even sitting at a table or sitting in a chair, he'll sit that straight because I assume he's just been getting used to it on the horse.
The things we do teach too when they do the hour ride is to recognize what's going on with that horse, to learn how to take care of a horse. And we teach them the basics of horsemanship, and they fall in love with their horses and they want to learn how to take care of them. And we can teach them that. We pride ourselves on doing a fantastic job with our riders. We want to make people happy, we want to make them successful, and that's one of the things that we are very, very good at. Our instructors are certified by PATH, which is the Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship, and they go through a certification process where they come out and student teach with a PATH certified instructor for 25 hours. Once they're done with that, there's testing to go through with PATH, and they do online testing primarily, but there's a horse care test, there's a test on riding, how well the riding skills are for the instructor, and then at the end of their, we call it a mentorship, they go to a PATH certified premier facility and they do a little weekend workshop. And there's a panel of judges that will make sure that they're doing everything they're supposed to do. It's very easy to fail this test, and there's a good reason for that, because since we're so safety oriented, you have to have your mind on everything, because that's one of the things that makes us very successful, is keeping everybody safe that's on the horse.
I was first introduced to this therapeutic program when I was a college student at Cal Poly, and I volunteered, and I've always liked to be around horses, and that was kind of what I chose for my volunteer hours for a recreation administration class. I came to revisit the program some years later and was approached to become an instructor for the program, and kind of started the process of becoming an instructor for therapeutic riding. When we first get a rider that approaches us with the program, we first have to have a clearance from the doctor showing that they're able to ride, that's safe for them to ride. Then we go ahead and discuss a riding plan and what their goals are, what they want to get out of it, if it's just for cognitive development, or if it's for socialization, or if it's for building muscle core strength. Therapeutic riding is excellent physical activity for building muscle strength. So it just depends on the need and the safety parameters in which we work with that particular client. Clients are not really fearful of the horses. They're really more fascinated or engaged with the horse more than anything. So we first introduce basic safety skills about how to approach a horse and how to safely be around the horse. We also have volunteers that assist in that capacity to supervise a rider around the horses to make sure that everything is maintaining safety. And then we go ahead and we introduce them to their particular horse they're riding for that day. We will demonstrate how they mount the horse, either with a saddle or any other kind of adaptive equipment that we might be using. And then once we see that they're settled enough and their balance is good enough to stay on the horse, with or without sidewalkers, we do use lead walkers and sidewalkers for safety reasons as well. Then we start, depending on their skill level and their ability to grasp the concept, then we introduce the basic riding skill. When you see a rider begin, and then maybe their confidence level isn't, quite there, and they're maybe a little unsure, but then like after just several lessons, you just really see them get confidence. They're sitting up taller, their balance is better, they're kind of being more assertive with the horse because they know they've demonstrated that they can do it.
Horses are very expensive to use, and I don't know where the term healthy as a horse came from, because so far it doesn't seem to fit. But you have hoof care, you have what they can eat, you have making sure that they stay in good condition, and we really depend on volunteers to come out and help us take care of those horses. And we depend on volunteers. We get saddle donations, we get tack donations, we get all kinds of people coming out and just, they will give us money just to continue to do what we do. We are a nonprofit. We are run by a board. We have 7 board members now. And the board basically votes on how we are running the program. And if there's any big decisions that need to be made, that's where we go. We have board meetings about once a month, and it works out really well because we have a lot of different people that are on our board from different walks of life. We have an animal control officer, we have a woman that works at juvenile hall, we have a grant writer, which is very good too, because like I said, we depend on donation. We recently moved to Rancho Del Rio. It's a great facility. It has a big, huge covered arena, and it also has round pens for us to use. The horses are out on a beautiful property. They love Rancho Del Rio. The woman that owns it, Cindy Nacy, is just a dream to work with. She is in a wheelchair herself, and I think one of the things that she appreciates is what we do for people with disabilities. It's a great feel to come out to Rancho Del Rio and hang out for the day, even if you're just doing a picnic or if you're doing, hanging out with the horses. And they really do mirror what you're feeling, and they understand what you're feeling, and they love to make you happier. It's just one of the great things about a horse, and that's why I love working with them, because they're so positive and they can just turn things around. If I'm in a bad mood, I go see the horses, and it works every time.